Hello, I'm Meredith Blackwell, and this morning I'm interviewing Aida, Giuliana, and MA. And as my former graduate student Hector Rabina would say, let's find a Latina to dance. And so he could show up now and have three. But I thought it would be very interesting for us to find out what Latin American mycology is like. And so South American mycology, the only place I've ever visited was Venezuela. So let's hear some others. You want to start out?
Okay, I am Aida Vasco. I am from Colombia. I have been working in mushrooms for the last 10 years or more.
And where were you born in Colombia?
I was born in Bogota, that is the capital. So in Bogota you start to study biology. And in a course I fall in love with mushrooms, but it was nobody to work on that. So I was just searching in the country where it was somebody who works on that, in that topic, and I met Esperanza Franco in Medellin. So I started to work with her, and I moved to Medellin. So currently I am not living in Bogota anymore. So I am living in Medellin because it was the spot for develop mycology of mushrooms in Colombia. So yeah, and I am still there after several years. So.
Okay. And Julia?
Yeah.
Are
Okay.
you?
Where
were you born?
Okay. I was born in London. My mother was a Chilean refugee after Pinochet's coup, and so I was born during my mother's exile. And as soon as democracy returned to Chile, she returned to the country, and I went with her, and went to study aquaculture in southern Chile. And I saw an ad in the university that they were looking for volunteers to look for Darwin's fox. And I thought, oh, I can do that. And so I was the only volunteer, and we were walking around the forests, and there were mushrooms everywhere, fungi everywhere. And I wanted to know who they were. And there were no field guides, there was no easy access information to Chilean fungi. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this. And so it's been 20 years working for fungi. I've written several field guides, but most importantly in 2012 I founded an NGO called the Fungi Foundation, which is the only NGO in the world that works 24/7 for fungi. And we introduce public policy changes so that fungi can be valued at the level they deserve, which is at least at the same level as flora and fauna. So.
Okay, so let me just ask you something about about Chile. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Bernard Lowy. Do you know his name?
Yes.
Okay, Bernard Lowy's daughter works there. Do you know her by any chance?
No, I don't know her.
Yeah, and what she does is read newspapers from all over South America about politics and democracy and all, and she has worked in a NGO, but I don't know what company which one it is, but it's not connected with mushrooms. Yeah. And you've had meetings in
Florianópolis,
yeah. And so where were you born? In Brazil?
I was born in Brazil in a city called Londrina, that is in southern Brazil, but it's in the state of Paraná.
Yeah.
But I was just born there, and then I moved, and I grew up in Florianópolis, and
that's where
yes, that's where I had the meeting. So after I was born I was living in Florianópolis for my whole life, and that's where I did my undergrad. And then I did my PhD in New York with Roy Halling, went back to Brazil and lived in Bahia and then in Paraíba. I spent some time in the Amazon, and then finally a job opened in my city, and
So
I went back. Yeah, which is very exciting.
I did that too. I was lucky.
Yeah.
Be back with my parents and all.
Yeah.
And they were growing older.
Yeah.
Because that's a problem when you're the daughter. You know you need to take care of family. Yeah. So do you have to do this kind of thing? Take care of families?
Yeah, a little bit. I have two siblings.
Okay, so
that also live in the city.
And what about, is it easy for women to work in your countries in mycology?
But I think that in general, work in mycology is difficult in the country because the biologists, the researchers, they don't really see the value of fungi in general. So with projects and to find money, to find a position is difficult. I have too many biologists working in different areas and institutions, and I always invite them to invite me to their project to then survive. Sometimes the botanists are just going all around the country collecting, and they never invite us. So there is a really recognition of the importance of fungi. So that's why at the same time there is not there is not money for projects, there are not positions because nobody recognizes the fungi. So it was difficult. I think that I was lucky. I just got a position and in one university. I think that I could just somehow mix it up and arrive to a microbiology department, even though I work more with mushrooms. And I think that it will be a very nice opportunity to open an overview about how important, in general, fungi are, not only yeast or only like small fungi. So.
And you may be able to educate the botanists that they can't have their plants without fungi.
Yeah, I have tried. I have been trying this a lot. So I have organized several workshops in conference. When it's a botanic conference, I always have a workshop there or try to organize a symposium just to show them that fungi are very important for plants. And in all the, So, but it's just to put the seed, to plant the seed and to see if maybe in the future it will growing up and we will collaborate it. So, yeah.
So what classes do you teach?
I have been teaching very weird courses, so like forensics, for example.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I improved some forensic mycology there. But I think that for this new position, I will teach in more like all the fungal topics in the microbiology. So, like environmental microbiology and fungal physiology for now, but I would like to start with new courses too. Yeah.
And you teach?
I teach fungi. I teach a class that includes fungi, algae, and bryophytes, and I teach the fungal section. It's within a semester, I teach 8 weeks of fungi. And I try to do like as much as I can and get the students involved and excited.
Do they like fungi?
They do. So regarding your question about women in mycology, Brazil is actually doing, I think, very well in terms of human resources. So I was glad to host the meeting, the Brazilian mycology meeting in 2016, and. The president honor was.
I didn't have any money to travel.
I know. I was really sorry, but it was really exciting. The president. We made like an homage to Clarice Logaciletti, who was my undergrad professor and the largest mycologist, like in Florianopolis. And we had like over 1,100 people registered, so it was a big surprise even for us.
Here.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, bigger than here.
It was really amazing.
And you did it by yourself?
No, I had a really good committee working with me, with other people that work with fungi at the university, and we had like almost 50 incredible students that really like run the show with us. It was really amazing.
And do you get to teach, or is it outreach kinds of?
So I don't teach in universities. There are some schools where the foundation teaches periodically, and we have courses, so introductory courses in intermediate and then more advanced courses in taxonomy that are open to people who want to enroll, and they're always sold out. So there is some teaching. There's nowhere to study mycology in Chile. There's no university that offers the career of mycology, and there's only one postgraduate place in southern Chile where you can maybe do a master's or a PhD. So Chile has, so there are some medical mycologists, but you have spare fingers on a hand for the professional mycologists, and that's something that at the Fungi Foundation we're addressing to overturn that, to change it. So
I know Don Feaster has told me how much help you've been when he goes down trying to work in Chile.
Yeah, Don Feaster. So I've been working with fungi for 20 years, and at year 16, I met Don Feaster, and he invited me to his lab, and I, of course, said, "Thank you, but I can't do that. I don't know enough. I'd never had a mycology course." And he said, "Well, I've been doing this for many years, and I'm inviting you." And I went with my son, and Don sat next to me for weeks and taught me and what nobody had ever been willing to teach me before. And it's been a life changer. I owe so much to him.
Don is very good at doing things like that.
Yeah.
Very
Very
good.
special person. So.
Have you
Yes.
been to Barlow?
I was this year because I was in a meeting, but it was a totally different meeting. And I spent one morning to visit him and I had to be there, in the
It's a
Farlow
wonderful
collection.
place,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also I visited the glass flower collection.
Oh, that's incredible.
In the glass fungus collection.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but it was amazing also because he is very special. So I met
Yes.
him in Colombia when we organized the Latin American conference in
Yeah.
2014. He attended, so he was very special. So I wanted to visit him and to be in Farlow, to take the
That's
picture.
where I met him, in Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
visited I had the FOF award when I was doing my
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
the Friends of the Farlow
Yeah,
award
yeah.
when I was doing my PhD. So I spent like maybe 15 days, a little less,
Yeah.
looking at the specimen at the herbarium.
But
It
New
was
York's
great.
not a bad place.
Yeah,
No,
She
No,
cannot
I
complain.
Had, like my PhD was like a life-changing experience for me to be able to work with Roy and spend 4 years at the New York Botanical Garden, but also I had the chance to go to Farlow and Chicago, Louisiana, and I mean it was really
A lot of places.
growing.
Yeah. So when you say you have a nonprofit and
Yeah.
then you guys are doing research, how do you get money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have does your country have a funding for science the way we have National
Yes.
Science Foundation?
Yeah, so in Brazil there are two financial institutions that the biggest one are from the government, and they have like editais, what we call, and you can send a project, and I got one a few years ago. But it's a little more challenging these days because of the politics.
And it's that way in the United States too.
But I also had, in 2011, I had a grant, a project granted with Breen Dentinger and David McLaughlin. So that was
Was
really
that the
nice.
Orchid project or not?
No,
it's something
that was
else.
that was with the Pterolaceae, with the fungal growing.
I love that
plants.
group.
Yeah,
I had a student in mycology grow it from an
Oh, yeah.
endophyte, and there was this. I thought the students had made a joke. I thought they had put a piece of fungus on a petri dish.
yeah. So they were down in Brazil in 2011. We had a lot of great time.
What about Colombia?
Yeah, in Colombia is one institution also when you can apply for money. But as I told you, fungus are not very valuable. So
Yeah.
I have present several projects, and I was always in the boundary, the path. And now they want a lot about applications. So I think that they're for diversity, and it's difficult. The way that I have found to develop projects is with collaboration. So just to talk with many people. That's why these kind of meetings are very important.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem to write, even if I don't know the person. So, and we could do several things, very nice projects and collaboration just with people from abroad. So
Yeah.
We can't
We
do
have
anything
the-
without our
yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
It's
always
still the
need-
same. We have the diversity. Sometimes they have the other resources, and so we have to collaborate.
But it's the same
so,
for us here.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
we do have money, we
Yeah.
need the help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
you.
in Chile. So I think that the short answer to your question is how do you get funding? The answer is with difficulty.
Yeah.
Definitely has to be answered. But so the Fungi Foundation was created to address these issues. So in a country where there's no formal mycology career, there aren't many courses, how do you do this? The way we went about it was trying to create funding opportunities. So with legal changes introduced into the environmental law, we've created legal requirements and regulatory requirements at the highest legislative level where fungi have to be included in baseline studies and environmental impact assessments. That in turn translates into a country need for funding resources for mycology. And so the science agencies have to respond to a political mandate in a law and create those lines of funding. That's what I do. I'm working to create funding for mycology, to create jobs, and thankfully today there are dozens of aspiring mycologists, or mycologists in process that are working in these baseline studies, and some of them are actually here at the Congress. So that's
And
how
young
we're
people,
doing
so
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a possibility of using that model in other countries?
Yeah, we would like to,
There
Yeah,
is. I
yeah.
mean, we've been, the Chilean model is a pioneering model. It's a model that's being presented all over the world. We're going to be showing it most prominently in the State of the World's Fungi in Kew in a couple of months.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I saw the book they put out for the plants.
Right.
And
so
they're supposed to put out one
Yes.
for the
That's gonna be
fungi.
nice.
yes. So
Yeah.
Chile. So from the foundation, we co-author the conservation chapter because we are a pioneering country in fungal conservation and in policy. It's a model that can be exported. It needs somebody to take it on.
They
You
take
can't
the
do
flag.
it. You can't do it
No.
from a lab.
No.
No.
Yeah.
This is another it's a whole other job. And the decision to do this, so I mean, when it was my turn to decide, it was either personal, research enrichment, or, give your life's effort so that nobody else has to face these issues again. And I opted for that second one, which luckily has had me in the field for 20 years, because that was my biggest risk. I was, oh no, am I going to be in an office for all my life? But sometimes you do have to be in an office or in Congress a lot more than you'd like to.
But it touches more people in the long run.
It touches more people in the long run, and more than the people, it's really not about the people, it's about the fungi.
Yeah.
It touches a lot of fungi.
But the people that touch the fungi.
Yeah.
Some people,
We're a fun group.
And we're,
So
yeah,
that's
Yes,
great.
Yeah.
Fungals.
we're fun gals. Yeah.
So, any other important things?
I think it's important to mention the difficulties that women face. So, for example, in the case of, as you mentioned, women who look after their families or who have children, it's a difficult field to work in. I will never forget when my very young son at the time was learning the seasons. And summer was ending, and he said, "Oh no, Mum, fall is coming." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, when it's fall, Mum disappears."
Oh.
And I looked at him and I said, "But she comes back." And he said, "Yes, she does come back." But there is this issue of how, there's a seasonality that will take you away from home, and also for parents or for your animals or women tend to sustain a household in Latin America maybe more
Here
than in
too, but not
Yeah.
as much maybe.
Yeah.
different as in Sweden, for example, or
Yeah.
Finland.
Yeah.
And so the expectation for a woman in Latin America in marriage, or in, in a family, is not that you disappear for a prolonged time without communication in a forest,
Right.
where it's pouring down with rain.
Yeah, in my university now there are some statistics about how many women are doing bachelor, how many masters, how many PhD, and how many got a position. And the same for males. So and the line is like there are too many women in bachelor and then few as a professors, but the males are the other way around. And it's because the maternity, the family things. This is a big trouble because there is not opportunities. Even in our university, there is not a kindergarten, for example. Very simple things that they could help women to have child doing a PhD.
Yeah.
And some professors are not accepting women for PhD because they could be mothers, because it's
Reproductive age.
in the reproductive age. It's like, it's frustrated, It's
and
really
it's the
frustrated.
same here, I think. But at least people are recognizing it. that
I
that's
think
the
I
problem.
think things are changing for better, and we just started. We're gonna start in August at my university, a Women in Science group, where the goal is exactly to have women that are in the place, scientifically speaking, where they want to be. And we want to inspire young women that could like get pregnant during, the undergrad or graduate students, to see that some of us went through the same thing. And the idea is that we're going to have scientists giving talks, but the first minutes of the talk is going to be a biography where we'll talk about, like in my case, a pregnancy loss, like the loss of a baby, or and how that affects absolutely everything in your life and in your career. So, but we have a situation in the biology part of the university where I am, where we have a lot of women actually, and like for the undergrads, 70% of the fellowships for the undergrads are with the girls, which is a lot. And we have like a 50-50 equal number of professors that are male and female. But what the changing point is like the women that are like in powerful positions. So then it drops for the leaders and the ones that make the changes. Then that drops to like 25%. And because it's a tough job to be like chief of department and deal with like the subtleness of like the meetings and that we know exist. So I think a lot of us just kind of.
Well, it's nice to see more concern like this because, my granddaughter's a math major and she'll be a senior next year in undergraduate school. But she's had one female math teacher.
Yeah, that's a very different situation.
And so at least it's being recognized and she realizes there might be problems, but that's what she wants to do.
Yeah,
you really have to want to do this, I think.
And it's very nice to have data because then you can really realize what is going on and how you can change it.
Yeah, and I think the student section in MSA has done a good job.
I can't wait for the diversity
But
session.
I thought about this in my situation. The Mycological Society was wonderful to me because I got tenure twice based on my CV, which was all MSA stuff. So it was really, really something. But,
you are an inspiration to us. You're a heroine. You are a heroine.
I came along at the right time in the U.S. because there was this recognition they needed to hire more women, and I'm sure that's how I got my first job. Positive.
Well, we're thankful to whoever
even
did
here
that.
at the meeting, I was asked to be, they needed more women on something, so they're just using my name. At least they're being honest.
But in all honesty, for us women in mycology, you are an inspiration. And you
So
are
do you have
an example.
anything more important to say about this? Do you have other things, anything else? I think we're about at the end, but any more comments?
No, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the
Yeah.
invitation. Yeah.
Well, I
Thank you
really
for
enjoyed it.
inviting us to
Oh,
join this
it's
wonderful
so
project.
great to
and-
be in Latin America. I just wish I spoke Spanish,
Spanish.
or Portuguese.
Yeah.
Is your Spanish as good as your Portuguese?
She has
They-
great
they
Spanish.
will.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, it's been wonderful because over the years we have forged sisterhoods in Latin American mycology, and you know, it's funny sometimes some people see us and they ask, you know, where are the others? But that's been so you
So
know.
one fun thing that we did here that we've started doing, I think, in
Yeah.
Colombia,
Tienes-
Yeah.
and we do like selfies with all our
Oh.
heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our heroes, our
That's
mycological
so great.
heroes.
Have a selfie with me
Yeah.
yesterday.
You
That
have
was
to
so
be
nice.
also in our
We're gonna
collection. So yeah.
post some- we don't know still what we're gonna do with them, but
Yeah.
it's. I mean, we are really happy.
Yeah.
We're
Fun.
we kind of silly sometimes, but
Yeah.
we bring people's faces
Oh,
to
that's
smile.
fun.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.